whole day of Friday is pretty much gauged towards the football field. Who we're playing, how good are they?
Growing up in Parkersburg, you dreamt about being out there on the field on Friday nights and playing for Coach Thomas.
He arrived in 1975, the new football coach in Parkersburg, Iowa, just 25 years old. Over the next 36 years, Ed Thomas would win 292 games, 2 state titles, and be named National High School Coach of the Year by the NFL. He sent 4 players to the pros, but more importantly, turned generations of Parkersburg boys into men. Men like Dave Becker, the captain of Ed Thomas's first Falcon team.
We had our meeting and the rules were announced. We were going to work harder than anyone else. Fourth quarter would be ours. He convinced us we could be winners.
He had the gift of getting kids to elevate their game to a level that they never thought they were even capable of.
He expected more out of his football players, that they were going to set the example of how to act.
It was an experience that I wanted, when I become a young father, for each one of my kids to have.
I want them to learn all the intangibles that goes with athletics that are going to make them a better husband, a better dad, a better member in their community and their church, just a better citizen.
Never were those lessons more important than May 25th, 2008.
Talking massive disruption, large gas leaks, flattened houses. I'm very serious. They need to get here and shut down this area.
In just a matter of seconds, the tornado destroyed hundreds of homes and killed 8 people.
A big part of my life is this school. As you look at our athletic facilities, all destroyed, we're going to rebuild. Because I don't know how else you deal with it, but to move forward.
With his own house amid the rubble, Ed Thomas guided Parkersburg out of the wreckage. Flanked by his current and former players, Thomas led a cleanup effort with an ambitious goal: restore the football field in time for the Falcons' home opener, just 100 days away.
He just set the tone very early, and we were going to dust ourselves off. We were going to help each other, and we were going to get through this.
I asked him, Coach, what can I do? He said, well, we have to get all of them bleachers off the football field. And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, Dave, I'll leave you in charge of that.
Alongside the football field being rebuilt, we were rebuilding our town, so it was an end goal to look forward to kind of that fall, that we could do something normal, because nothing was normal that year.
And so on September 5th, with seemingly every one of Parkersburg's 1,900 citizens in the stands and a national audience watching on TV, Ed Thomas gathered his team in a makeshift locker room known as the Bus Barn.
Every player that's ever played on that field, I guarantee you, is thinking about you tonight. Fellas, I've been in this for 36 years. I've had some tremendous experiences. Nothing is going to be greater than going out there tonight. Where are you from?
Just the fact they could play through that devastation and the team, the way they came together.
It was definitely emotional, especially after the summer we went through.
There's no question in my mind we will be a better school and a better community than we ever were before. Thank you.
Big night. Well done.
Coach Thomas led the Falcons to an 11-1 record that season. And as winter turned to spring and then summer, the town began to look like itself again. Last June, a little more than a year after the tornado, the football team resumed early morning workouts back in the Bus Barn.
When you're done lifting, you just tell him you're done lifting, and he would say, see you later. Just see you, coach, just like every other day.
I mean 911.
We had I think a shooting right now in the Bus Barn down at the high school.
In the Bus Barn?
Yeah. Kids had come running out and said somebody shot Ed Thomas.
Okay.
Just a few moments after Scott Becker drove away, unbeknownst to him, his older brother Mark, a former Falcon starting lineman who had been recently diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, walked into the Bus Barn and in front of 22 students, pulled out a gun and shot his former coach 7 times.
The chief of police told me that it was Ed and that he'd been shot in the head several times, and he didn't want me to go in there. So I called Aaron then to let him know what was going on.
My mom is probably one of the calmest people I've ever met, but I could hear something in her breath. I knew it wasn't good.
It was already on CNN, and that's when we had found out that he had passed away.
And I instantly just started thinking about my boys. To tell a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and 6-year-old, how are you gonna explain this?
It's kind of like you just get punched in the stomach.
I just told her, sorry, I couldn't be here.
The Thomases' world was shattered. Across town, another family would soon be stunned to learn that the killer was their own son.
My phone's ringing. I pick it up, and it's my neighbor saying, you better get home. There's a lot of squad cars flying up your driveway. A couple of the sheriff deputies filled me in on it was Mark. I can remember, obviously, kind of falling apart there.
I called my husband. I said, Dave, did you hear about Coach? And he said, Joan, you've got to get somebody to give you a ride home.
I couldn't wrap my mind around how a kid who Dad had taught and coached and reached out to would ever do something like this to him.
My son was responsible for taking such a good man. How do you get over that?
You wondered how this was all going to play out. How are we going to live tomorrow?
I was concerned about being able to live in this community.
The Thomas family immediately addressed those concerns when, just hours after the murder, they held a press conference and made an appeal to the town.
Nothing can prepare you for what our family, our community is going through. We also want to make sure we express our concern and our compassion for the Becker family. We ask that people pray for them as well.
How do you stand up there and offer comfort and prayers to the family of the person who shot your dad? And it took a lot of courage for Aaron to do that.
Dad always taught us to lead by example. If we're going to tell somebody to reach out and support the Beckers, and if we're not doing it, that's not very good character.
The day after the murder, Aaron and Todd sought out Scott Becker, one of Coach Thomas's players, who was struggling to come to grips with what his older brother had done.
Our biggest concern, my brother and I, was just that for Scott to know this wasn't his fault.
Right away, they said, we're here with you. That was probably the first time I broke down.
Thousands came from across the country to Parkersburg for the funeral. But as the Thomas family mourned, they somehow found the strength to continue consoling the Beckers.
This is a note that Jan gave to an usher, and it says, give to Joan Becker. Joan, Dave, and boys, we love you and are here too. Hang in there, Jan T. I'll never take this out of my Bible. Compassion is the driving force in their family. We had hundreds and hundreds of people come to our home. They would say, we just left the Thomases. Jan said to be sure and give you her love.
I went down to the mailbox, and it's every square inch is stuffed full of thinking of you cards. That's when I realized that it was going to be okay in the community.
2 months after the murder, the Beckers returned to Ed Thomas Field to watch their youngest son, Scott, play football again, now led by a new generation of Thomases.
As we approached the crowd, of course they turned and looked and just started hugging. Once that kickoff took place, you said a feeling it's going to be okay. I know Coach wasn't there, but he was there. And it was Falcon football once again.
The three things that mattered to Ed Thomas the most were faith, family, and Falcon football. And he dedicated his life to sharing them with the citizens of Parkersburg. Today, a year after his death, his family is left to carry on without him. But just like Coach, they have led by example, showing uncommon strength, faith, and compassion at the darkest of times, revealing the power of forgiveness not just to a town, but the world far beyond it. And it is through the dignity and courage of his family that Ed Thomas's legacy lives on.
I'll never be my dad, but if I can have some of the impact he had, I'll feel that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
There's no doubt we have been faced with adversity. We made our choice on how we're going to react to it.
My hope for the future is to be high school kids again, to just get to be small town Iowa, to move forward but not forget my dad and what he's taught us.